burn, baby, burn. That's all I can sing, burn, baby, burn. Gonna get a copyright violation. All right, hello interwebs. I hope you're all doing well. Sorry for making you endure my singing, but we are going to be reviewing the 4th episode of Agatha All Along. Really excited to talk about this one because personally, this was my favorite episode of the show so far. I think this was a really great balance between fun character beats, really built off of the fun dynamics that the show has slowly built up so far, with the characters all not really trusting each other, but also managing to finally dig into some more emotional connections and pathos that have been, again, simmering behind the scenes and really kind of starting to come to the fore here, especially for the character of Agatha, as well as clearly paying off some of the smaller character storylines, particularly for Alice in this episode, and setting up a few little tidbits for later on. Like, it's just, the script for this one feels just very, very effective. If I brought it down into looked at the script and was like breaking apart all the pieces of this, I could see this is a very just very functional script and just knows exactly what it's doing. There's no fat here, and yet there's plenty of time for the actors and characters to have fun within that structure as well. I think this is a show firing on all cylinders. It's not breaking the mold. It's not doing something absolutely, revolutionary, but it doesn't need to. I think just being a really good, structurally strong Marvel show is itself a marvel. No, actually, pun intended, at this point. And I'm really just enjoying it. It's really just a solid foundation to build all of these actors just wonderful chemistry, and especially for Agatha, she's just killing it. And Aubrey Plaza, who comes back into strong form this episode, is also having a ball with just everything she's given, doing the normal Aubrey Plaza thing, but really I think just proving to be the second standout of the show behind Agatha herself. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to say this up front because it'll inform some of the ways I talk about this episode. Be very careful online because, unfortunately, on my Twitter feed, or X as they call it, I did get spoiled on a few things from some merchandise releases that went out to some places. So I know some particularly specific spoiler things for this series. Just be careful because that is out there right now. So unfortunately, it's going to mean I'm not going to speculate on things like the identity of the teen as well as Aubrey Plaza's character while I'm talking about this, because I know for a fact who they are. But that said, I will open up a discussion at the end of this video if you're interested, where I will just full out just say what I know, because I know other people are talking about it, because I think the awareness of who they are actually informs, I think is actually really interesting to view this episode through that lens of I know who they are. I see what some of this episode is alluding to. So just fair warning on that. I won't say it during the bulk of this review, but I will give a big warning when I'm saying, all right, I'm just going to tell you who they are, because based on stuff that I've seen and what that sort of means for this episode. So we'll get there when we get there. Talking more generally, though, this is, again, following the structure that we established last episode, where we're on the road, they come across the next challenge, they deal with the next challenge. The challenge is specifically around one member of the coven, and then we sort of move on to the next bit, and we'll hopefully get the next trial next episode, and we get some character beats and stuff within there as well. Not breaking the mold on that front, and this one's episode is focused on Alice, who has been the character that I feel like we've gotten to know the least. And what I will say is, I thought this episode had a lot of character in terms of it's set, I loved that sort of very 70s, 60s, 70s. My music knowledge is not very great, but 60s, 70s sort of music vibe to it, especially when we got the new costumes. Loved the look. Or is it 80s? I don't know. This is, again, I am terrible with music. You can yell at me. But the vibe was I loved the aesthetic. It was a lot of fun to see them there. And again, while I don't feel like Alice is the strongest character, she just has this sort of my mom is my trauma bit to her, it is effectively handled here. And I loved some of the little things that we got, like the reveal that her mother's most famous song was a way to summon the road, but also was a protection spell for a curse that she had. That's just a really clever idea. She's protected because her song is so popular that it's always being played and thus always protecting Alice. What a clever way to sort of incorporate witches' music into sort of a unique way to talk about it. Like, that's just a clever idea that I really loved. And I love some of the small other things, like the record player playing backwards, as we all know, like the satanic panic of like, oh, if you play rock and roll backwards, it plays the devil's music. Things like that getting incorporated to this. So all of that was really, really fun. I also really loved them summoning a witch, a green witch, and I loved, again, just the bit of like, may she be good at her craft, and then Agatha's like, may she not be like overly political, and then I was just going like, maybe she brings some Advil. That was, I don't know, it made me laugh. That was just very, very funny. Just really good bits, and Agatha's just sort of like, I don't give a shit attitude about everything, especially at the start of this episode, and we sort of get a little bit of a full circle of her starting to integrate into the group at the end of this episode, means that this episode feels like it has a full arc for her character. And I really like that, because that's one thing that I think TV shows like Marvel, when they're like movies made into it, like they're thought of as movies that are broken up into episodes rather than being an episodic show, is what it does is it leaves you feeling a little less, you're not able to grab onto the character's arcs within a single episode. And what this is doing, because it'd be like, oh, we established that character in a previous episode, we don't need to like reestablish it here, but then we'll end that arc in this episode later on. And like, if watched as a whole, sure, that works fine, but when you're watching it week to week, it can leave you a little bit like, oh yeah, that doesn't feel as satisfying. Here, though, we start off with Agatha like, all right, she's dead, let's just keep going. And then at the end, she's opening up to the group, sitting by the fire, making jokes with them as they're bonding with each other and sharing their war stories. I thought that was, it was effective. Again, script is just very tight, and you can tell that this is written by TV writers, not movie writers, who know how to structure a TV show. And that shouldn't sound so shocking, but for MCU Disney Plus shows, it sadly kind of is. But it's effectively done, and I feel very satisfied in the arc of that. But we also get some other building things, like Agatha's growing worry about the teen when he is injured at certain points, and him wanting to also feel a part of the group. It's like, oh, I guess you share your burdens and benefits, or whatever the wording was. And again, it's going to my trans reading of the character. You don't have to have the trans reading. I don't think it's an intentional one, but I kind of have a trans reading of like him wanting to be a witch. There's some gender fuckery going on in there in some way, shape, or form. The other thing too is, I'm relatively critical of Disney and Marvel for their queer representation. I think it's been very shallow, very surface level, and even here, I think they're doing a lot more here in this show. Like, there's already been jokes by Aubrey Plaza about like this being the gayest Marvel show, and I think that is definitely the case. We're definitely getting allusions to characters like I think Jennifer Kale says at one point like get her number about Aubrey Plaza, and like Agatha very clearly having some relationship with Aubrey Plaza's character, and them even leaning in for a kiss at the end of the episode. So a lot of queer vibes, and fairly like skirting close to the edge of being able to deny it. Like, it's one of those things where I'm still faulting the show a little bit because they're not kissing, it's not overt, and I don't necessarily need the show to go like, hey, they're gay, and like state it out loud, but it's still one of those things where Disney never actually says it, never actually goes far enough to like have two women kiss, and so the show still backing away from it, getting as close as it can. I'm a little frustrated in it, just because of the context of Disney. Like, if this was a show standing on its own, I would be fine with this. I think this would be like, yeah, you can't really miss it, can't really deny it, and it's very much the vibes, and I don't need the like explicit labeling of everything. The need to like be like, we're lesbians, we're gay, we're trans, can often end up to like shallow representation, because it's sort of like, we put them in the box, and I think this more flirting with boundaries is better. But in the context of a Marvel show where they have been so afraid to put queerness front and center, it reads to me like, oh, they're teasing it but not really gonna go full into it, and leaving some level of plausible deniability for every single person who wants to go la 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 la, no gay here, no homo, as much as if they really want to. So I'm of two minds about it on that front. That being said, I do really like it on its own terms, and I don't fault this show for itself. It's just the context of the larger MCU that it kind of has to contend with the context of. Other things, I loved the song that they had to sing and play. That was a lot of fun, like a redressing of the Road song for all the anti-SJW, anti-woke, whatever crowd out there. Sorry, SJW, that's an old term. What am I in 2016? But anti-woke crowd who are complaining about music in the witch show. Screw you, you're getting more. Love it. But also the demon design was very, very cool. I will say it was a little bit like quickly like brought up and done with. Like we haven't gotten enough of Alice. We like, her mother is her trauma bits have like been spread out throughout the episode, and I think that's effectively done in this one. But it doesn't like change my world, I guess, when we see it here. But it's effective, and I think it was fun. We also get Lilia, sort of like little hints of Lilia spacing out and like jumping somewhere at certain points, maybe ahead in time, or something is going on with her and her spaciness and like saying different things at weird random times that I'm sure that'll come up next episode or the episode after. So like setting up future plot lines. Other things, just to note, I'm trying to think if there's anything else before I want to go talk about big reveal stuff. Agatha at the end, relating to the teen, and you can clearly see that she hopes that the teen is her son. And Aubrey Plaza's character saying no, he is not at the end kind of breaks her heart a little bit. And especially the moment when the teen asks like what happened to your son, and she had been hoping that he was her son, and him asking that means like it kind of defined for her that it wasn't him. And I think Catherine Hahn plays that so well. So also Mrs. Hart being dead, like she is officially dead. Was shocking to me. I thought they were going to bring her back or something because they needed a Green Witch, but I guess Aubrey Plaza is going to fulfill that role, which works. Also, Aubrey Plaza's Green Witch outfit, love it. I think that's everything I wanted to say. This episode was really great. I'm going to go full into spoilers, so I'm going to give you like 5 seconds here. Jump off here if you don't want to talk about it, but I am going to say fully who the teen character and Aubrey Plaza's character are. So if you do not want that spoiler, here you go. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bah. All right, so unfortunately, fucking Funko Pops of all the goddamn things spoiled this because they shipped out some of the toys. People took pictures, even though I don't think they're officially released yet. Probably people at like Walmart or Target working in the back. No, I worked at Target myself, so I'm not knocking anybody doing that. But it sucks that I got spoiled for it. That being said, I'm not I don't care too much about spoilers. And what it allows me to do now is like, and now I know who they are at this point. And so I can see like, I see what they're doing. So, again, last chance here. Teen is indeed Wiccan, what everyone suspects. No surprise there. But the more interesting one to me is that Aubrey Plaza is playing Death. Like the literal incarnation of Death. Like in the comics, the character of Death that Thanos got the Infinity Gauntlet to kill half the universe for because he was in love with her, Death. Which is interesting to bring her into this show. And it adds so much interesting subtext to a lot of what happened in this episode. First off, the reason that Aubrey Plaza climbs out of Mrs. Hart's grave and said she was just passing through the neighborhood was because Mrs. Hart just died. She was there to kill Mrs. Hart because she's Death. So I liked that, and her like wanting bodies was interesting, and also just interesting that she has a relationship with Agatha, and a very queer relationship with Agatha, because Agatha can't die. And the reason that she wants to kill Agatha, my guess is based on the conversation that happened at the end with like, she's my scar, that Aubrey Plaza says, is Agatha and her were besties and just gal pals, wink, wink, going around doing witch shit and having a lot of fun. And then when Agatha wanted something or power or something, she forced Death to kill her son. Maybe even both of their sons. Maybe they had him together and used magic to create a son between two women. I don't know the full details on it, but it was definitely like, it feels like Death was forced to kill Agatha's son against her will. And that is partially why she is angry and wants to kill Agatha and claim her. So that is just fascinating subtext, and I love all the little hints to who she is. Also, Aubrey Plaza, like, reading the paper at certain points and just very clearly being checked out of the whole ordeal, like, not really bothered by anybody. It's because she's deaf. She's like, what do I have to worry about being here? So she's just in the neighborhood, she's playing along, but she's very unconcerned about being involved in any of the danger because she's not. And I think that is just a very fun vibe. So yeah, I think that's a really cool reveal. Teen as Wiccan probably will not shock anybody, but I do really like this idea that Agatha is going to invest in Teen, has feelings for Teen as like a mother figure, and sort of like become a surrogate mother to him. But we'll learn that he's the child of the person who tortured her essentially for so many years that she was trapped in Westville. So I think that's going to be an interesting twist, not one that I think, let me put it this way, not exactly shocking plot-wise, but it will be a very effective emotional turn, I think, for Agatha. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play out on a character and emotional level. Yeah, that's everything that I really think I have for this episode. This was another great one. I'm really enjoying the series. It's a lot of fun. I'd love to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below, though. Beyond all of that, I hope you all, my friends, live long and prosper.